Let's get right into it. If you're a Nepali living abroad, Nepal's upcoming fiscal year 2083/84 budget has a whole lot to say about you. Today, we're doing a full explainer on exactly how the government plans to integrate your skills, protect your rights, and yes, leverage your capital. For years, the diaspora's role was kind of just seen through the lens of sending money home. But looking closely at this new 80-page document, there's a really distinct structural shift happening. The state is actively trying to rewrite its entire relationship with non-resident Nepalis and migrant workers. So we're going to unpack exactly what these policies mean for you and your connection to the homeland.
You know that phrase, once a Nepali, always a Nepali? Well, it's not just a catchy slogan this time around. It's literally the foundational anchor for this entire budget. Instead of treating immigration as some sort of permanent severing of ties, the government is explicitly framing its policies around lifelong continuity. Whether you've been gone for 5 months or 50 years, the underlying philosophy here is that your identity and your potential contributions remain inherently tied to the nation's progress.
To make sense of this massive document, we've broken it down into 5 key pillars. First, the overall diaspora approach. Second, voting rights and NRN citizenship. Third, remittance and investment. Fourth, safe foreign employment. And finally, education and skills. Okay, starting right off with pillar number 1, the diaspora-focused budget approach. Right out of the gate, in the opening remarks, the finance minister explicitly positions this budget as a policy tool to meet the expectations of all Nepalis. And that means whether you're sitting in Kathmandu or halfway across the world. What's absolutely crucial to understand here is the intentional placement of the diaspora. They are pulling you from the margins of economic planning directly into the mainstream. The government is basically acknowledging that domestic growth is practically impossible without aligning with the expectations and the financial muscle of the millions of Nepalis scattered across the globe. Moving right along to Pillar 2, voting rights and NRN citizenship. This is huge. The government is finally putting real, structural weight behind NRN citizenship. We're talking official economic, social, and cultural rights. Now, what does this actually mean for you in the real world? Well, it translates to much smoother pathways for property ownership, running business operations, and just full integration into nation building. For a long time, legal gray areas made it incredibly frustrating for NRNs to actively invest or do social work back home without jumping through endless bureaucratic hoops. By formalizing these rights, the budget aims to strip away that friction entirely. And speaking of civic rights, here is a massive update. Out-of-country voting. For the very first time, concrete resources are actually being allocated to build the legal, technical, and administrative infrastructure so you can cast your ballot from wherever you are in the world. I mean, this is a monumental shift in democratic inclusion. The days of being completely disconnected from the political decisions that shape your home country are numbered. Your voice, your concerns, and your vote will now directly shape domestic politics, which forces local leaders to consider the diaspora as a highly vital constituency. All right, let's jump to Pillar 3, remittance, investment, and enterprise. So if you're working abroad and sending money back, you're going to want to pay close attention to this new concept, the Remittance Investment Matching Fund. Historically, we all know a huge chunk of remittance just goes straight into daily household consumption, right? Paying for groceries, rent, immediate needs. And while that is absolutely necessary, it doesn't really build generational wealth. So the government is actively setting up a dedicated fund to incentivize and match your investments into productive, long-term wealth-building sectors like infrastructure or manufacturing. But hey, it's not just about your capital. It's about your human capital, too. The new Returnee Migrant Program is set up so that when you do decide to head back home, the specialized skills, the international work ethic, and the efficiencies you picked up overseas are directly plugged into the national enterprise system. Instead of returning and feeling like you have to start all over from scratch, this program aims to fast-track your reintegration. It turns your overseas experience into a direct asset for local economic development. Now, if you're looking to start a business back home, things are getting a lot easier. The document promises automated approvals for foreign direct investment. It explicitly removes the need for prior consent from Nepal Rashtra Bank just to repatriate your returns. If you've ever tried to move investment dividends or service fee royalties across borders before, you know how incredibly tedious that whole process was. By shifting to an automated, information-only system, the budget drastically lowers the barrier to entry, making it super attractive for diaspora entrepreneurs to inject capital back home without the constant fear of it getting trapped. Now, here's a surprising fact that really shows a shift in modern economic diplomacy. The budget actually announces the closure of several embassies and consulates around the world. We're talking missions in Denmark, Brazil, South Africa, Chengdu, and San Francisco. This highlights a very pragmatic cost-cutting measure. The government is signaling a pivot away from maintaining really expensive diplomatic outposts that aren't delivering clear economic returns, choosing instead to consolidate resources and focus efforts where trade and labor synergies are strongest.
Let's shift gears to Pillar 4, safe foreign employment.
We are seeing a really stark, intended shift in labor policies here. The old era of unskilled departures and those crippling, opaque recruitment fees, they are aggressively phasing that out. The new vision relies entirely on a skill-first policy, zero-cost recruitment, and transparent installment payments directly from employers. For decades, migrant workers have been vulnerable to massive debt burdens just to secure a job abroad. This new framework attempts to completely flip the script, ensuring that workers leave empowered with specific training and, most importantly, without the heavy burden of extortionate upfront fees.
Grounding this in absolute reality, the budget is allocating dedicated funds to rescue stranded citizens. And while it's tragic to even talk about, they're simplifying the vital process of repatriating the bodies of deceased workers. It adds a much-needed layer of empathy to the state's responsibility. It also promises a harsh crackdown on exploitative syndicates and cartels that have historically preyed on vulnerable laborers. It's a clear acknowledgement that, while foreign employment is a massive economic driver, the human cost has just been too high. State-backed worker protection is absolutely non-negotiable moving forward.
Finally, let's look at Pillar 5, education and skills. This is incredibly practical. The government plans to open up open university courses specifically targeted at youth who are currently working abroad. Think about the reality for so many migrant workers. Long hours in a foreign country usually mean very little opportunity for upward mobility. This initiative changes that entire trajectory. It means you can actively upgrade your formal education and academic qualifications right alongside your day job. It provides a direct, accessible pathway to continuous learning, making sure your time abroad isn't just about earning a paycheck, but also about real personal and professional growth. And if you've learned a valuable trade on the job overseas, the new National Qualification Framework is a real game changer. It takes those informal skills you've mastered, whether that's in construction, hospitality, technical trades, whatever, and gives them formal, recognized certification back in Nepal. You aren't going to return home as an unskilled laborer simply because you lack a piece of paper. Your hands-on experience will be assessed, validated, and translated into certified credentials, empowering you to demand better wages and better positions in the domestic job market when you come back.
So, I want to leave you with this thought. If these intended allocations and policies actually roll out the way they're planned, how is your personal connection to Nepal's economy and your civic life going to transform this coming year? The blueprint is definitely there to finally bridge the gap between the homeland and the diaspora. And of course, it all comes down to implementation. Keep this in mind, keep watching how these policies unfold, and thanks so much for joining this explainer.